Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. This is a very special video because I think that it is the first one with our son in it, which feels so surreal. This is Harvey Silas Bond. He was born on June 27, so I am currently at the time of filming this 2 weeks postpartum, which is really crazy to say because the last 2 weeks have just gone so quickly. But we have been soaking it up as much as we possibly can. He is just so perfect. We love him so much. But today we thought we would recount our birth story. I love watching these videos. I think they're so fun because every single woman has a different birth story, and so we wanted to share ours because truly all of it was just such an answered prayer. Okay, so I guess we'll just jump right into it.
It's Thursday, the 26th of June.
So it was Thursday, the 26th of June, and I was 41 weeks and 4 days pregnant. I was in a program called the Midwifery Group Practice, which is continuity of care with one midwife throughout your entire pregnancy. Basically, it allows you to have a home birth within the public health system here in Australia. So we didn't have to hire a private midwife. I was very, very grateful to get into that program. Anyway, the thing is that you can only have a home birth in that program up to 42 weeks pregnant. So time was well and truly ticking for me, and I felt as though I didn't really have any super obvious signs of labor except for the ones that I had been experiencing since like 35 or 36 weeks. So as we were approaching that week where I knew that I guess time was running out for me to have a home birth with my midwife, I was starting to feel really almost like defeated, I guess. I was almost mentally preparing myself for my entire birth plan to change had I gotten to 42 weeks. So anyway, it was the morning of the 26th of June. I woke up early that morning as Ezra was getting ready for work, and I was honestly really upset.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
Just that there was another morning closer to 42 weeks. When you were tired at the end of every day, you felt as though your body was almost like trying to start labor but then didn't. And then you'd wake up in the morning and you're like, everything that you thought you were feeling the night before was just gone.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You would like kind of have like some cramps in the shower, or cramps as we were like packing up the kitchen, and then we'd go to sleep and you'd be like, well, maybe we see each other in a few hours, like wake up and we're on here. And then we'd wake up at 5 a.m. the next day, and that morning you woke up on a Thursday very defeated.
That morning as Ezra was getting ready for work, he actually encouraged me to do some of the things that I love. So he said that I should take myself out for breakfast, go watch the sunrise at the beach, that sort of thing. So I did, and I went and had a beautiful little solo date. I got some bagels and I just spent some time with God at the beach, and I was praying a lot, and I guess we were both just praying that he would come before 42 weeks so that we could have a home birth. Bear in mind, I have no issue with going past 42 weeks. I don't personally see that as need for medical intervention or as a medical emergency. It was just the fact that I couldn't have a home birth.
Yeah, well, you could have a home birth,
but it'd be a free birth.
Correct. The midwives would no longer be able to attend
due to hospital
policy and the guidelines and regulations that they're bound by in the medical system.
So anyway, I took myself out for bagels and I had a really beautiful morning. I came home and I actually had a midwife appointment that day, so it was just like a checkup. My midwife wanted to check over baby's heart rate, make sure he was all good in there,
check on you,
check on me, how I was doing emotionally, and I actually cried to her a little bit that morning and just said that I was starting to feel really defeated because I hadn't gone into labor yet, but I'd had all of like these prodromal labor signs. And she actually that morning told me to go and get some clary sage essential oil and to sniff that or have a bath with it. And of course I just didn't think that would work because I am very much under the belief that there is nothing you can do to get labor, I guess, moving along if baby doesn't want to come out. I think that babies come when they're ready, I guess. So I was a little bit hesitant to do the clary sage or anything like that. Anyway, that entire day I really just took it slowly, and it got to around 2 p.m. and I went to go have a nap. And this is where I took my last bump photos, so I'll actually put them up on the screen. I messaged Ez because he was still at work, and I just said I'm gonna lie down for a bit because I was emotional and tired, as you are in the last days of pregnancy. And so I went and I had a nap from about 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. that day. I woke up to Ezra having gotten home, and of course I told him earlier in the day about the clary sage. So Ez picked up some essential oil on the way home from work, and he gave it to me when I woke up from from my nap at around 5 p.m. I opened that up and I put some on the bottom of my nose so that I was constantly inhaling it. And we just, I guess from then on, decided to have a really relaxing night. We were going to do all of the things that I loved. For example, The Notebook is my favorite movie, so we put on The Notebook. We ordered some takeaway Thai food and we just wanted to have a super chill night, I guess. We wanted to get me feeling good, and it wasn't even to start labor, it was just so that I would feel a bit better because I was feeling pretty sad.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was a lot. 41 and 4.
And that's my adjusted date as well. So I was actually like 43 and a half weeks from my last menstrual cycle. So I had been pregnant for a long time.
Pregnant for 10 months on the dot.
10 months to the day, because my last menstrual cycle started on August 27th.
And he was born on June 27th.
Which is so crazy to think about.
So it had probably been about 2 hours since I'd gotten home and given you the clary sage. And we came out here to start organising what we wanted to order. We were either going to have Indian or Thai, and we then decided Thai. We were setting up the TV for The Notebook. We came out here and I encouraged you to sit on your birth ball while we were doing that, and while we were going to watch the movie. We just thought anything can help. We're having a relaxing night. Let's just give it a go. Probably 20 minutes into sitting on the ball, you said you felt a pop?
Yeah, so what happened is I felt and heard a pop in my belly, and it was at the exact same time, but it was only little. It wasn't a really big obvious one. I thought that it may have been my waters, but then I stood up and no fluid came out. So I was like, oh, maybe I was just hearing things or feeling things. I don't know.
Maybe just baby moving around, or...
Yeah, or I was just, I guess, like trying to talk myself out of what I heard and felt. I didn't want to get my hopes up.
Yeah.
I did actually send both my mum and my sister a text right at basically the minute that it happened, which was about 7:30 p.m. So that is when I count that labor started. From the moment that I felt and heard that pop in my tummy, I started having some cramping. I probably had maybe 3 or 4 cramps in a 20-minute period before I said to Ezra that we should probably start timing them, because I thought that they had a little bit of consistency.
I was like, okay, I'll get up at the stopwatch and I'll start timing them, and I want you to tell me when you feel as though you're feeling it, because I wanted it to be not
predetermined
in your head, like, oh, it's been this
rough
rough amount of time since the last one, like, oh, maybe I'm feeling it. You just tell me what you're feeling when you're feeling it, and we'll go, okay, if you're feeling it, we'll track it. Yeah, they turned out to be 6 minutes apart.
I also knew that these contractions were different. They felt different. It was the consistency, and they were all lasting for around 60 seconds.
From the get-go as well.
From the get-go, like off the bat, from when I felt that pop. So we started timing them, and after maybe about 40 minutes, we noticed that there was a very obvious pattern. They were coming every 5 to 6 minutes, lasting for 50 to 60 seconds each time. And they were spicy, I guess I would describe them as. Like, they had a little bit of heat to them compared to what I'd experienced before. So then it got to around 9 p.m. We had been timing the contractions for about an hour, and I messaged our birth photographer this text. I'll put it up on the screen. That was at 9:01 p.m. I also texted my midwife basically the exact same thing. My midwife suggested that I go and get some rest because early labor can take a while for some people, but she did say that it sounds promising. So these cramps kept going on, and we were eating while watching the start of The Notebook.
Oh, I was eating. You had 3 mouthfuls and went, I actually can't eat.
I was
like,
remember
well,
that. Yeah.
I'm prepping here, so I'm...
And then Ez got up and started prepping the entire house, because at that point we realized that it probably was labor. So he was blowing up the birth pool. There were some things that he had to organize for work. Ez was putting up all of our affirmations on the wall, just basically getting the entire house ready, because we did not have it ready at all. We'd taken the birth pool down from having it up a few weeks before, and so it was kind of like this, well, it wasn't a mad rush when you started, but how I then started progressing,
it became a mad rush.
Became a mad rush.
That's alright, we got there.
Then at around 9:30, I noticed that my contractions were getting closer together. So Ez is running around trying to do everything, and I'm timing my contractions at this point. And so then I went to the toilet, and that was when I lost my mucus plug.
Here's a photo.
Around the time I lost my mucus plug, so it had been half an hour at this point since I messaged our photographer and midwife, I noticed that the contractions were just getting closer and closer and closer together. together very quickly, and they were starting to last for even longer. So
things were picking up.
Things were picking up and they were moving very fast. At 9:41 p.m. I messaged my birth photographer and I said, they seem to be getting closer and closer together very quickly. They're about 2 to 3 minutes apart now and are lasting 60 seconds, if not a bit longer. So that was only 40 minutes from the first text that I sent her. So you can imagine how quickly things were happening for us at home.
40 minutes felt like a mouthful of food.
They were starting to get really intense at this point as well.
By this point, when you messaged saying they've now jumped to 2-3 minutes, we knew that we were now in labour, which was exciting. Like, we kind of stopped for like 10 seconds. I don't think it was caught on video because we did film as much as we could with how crazy and quickly it happened. We did stop and look at each other like, we're gonna have a baby. We're gonna have a baby soon. Like, we're on here. It's actually happening now.
That was so surreal, is looking at each other. I remember being like, we're gonna have a baby soon. Like, this is happening.
Yeah.
So then at 9:58, I called the triage number of the hospital that we had the program with. When I got on the phone with the lady at the triage desk, she told me that for first-time mums, things can take a little bit longer and we just have no idea how long I'll be in labour for.
She affirmed you first.
Of
she
course.
did say, well, it does sound like you're in labour, so congratulations.
Yeah, but she was just trying to, I guess, like reassure me that it could take a while.
She wanted to reassure you that even though things felt and seemed as though they were progressing, try and just take a deep breath. Try and conserve your energy, rest, and try to just keep yourself and the environment at home as calm as possible. It was pretty much the message she tried to deliver, which was very sporadic because in the 7-minute phone call, P had 4 contractions.
She started off the conversation by also saying that she wasn't going to send a midwife out yet because I'd only been in labour for like 2 hours at that point. She could see that I was put down for a home birth in the system. She was asking me if things were ready and I was like, my husband is running around doing everything. But by the end of that 7-minute conversation where she listened to me vocalize through 3 or 4 contractions that were lasting 70 seconds at this point, she was like, okay, I am actually gonna send a midwife out.
Yeah, I'll just send a midwife out.
So from this point, which was around 10 p.m, that's when we really realized that I was in then active labor. I do not remember much from that point onwards. And I'm so grateful that we had the birth photographer there, because when we were going through the gallery, I was actually looking through it, just thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, I don't remember that.
When was I there?
Yeah. Basically, that midwife that came out, her job was to assess me, and then she was going to call my primary midwife that I had had all throughout my pregnancy to come along when she thought that it was really cracking on. The midwife that got sent out came and talked me through 1 contraction, and already she was like, okay, I'm gonna give your midwife a call and we'll get her to come out right now, because she could tell that things were really happening. It was also around this time where Ezra put the TENS machine on my back, which I really enjoyed at the start of my active labor. The TENS machine had a little timing function on it where you pressed a button at the start of your contraction and it would time how long the contraction went for, and then it would time the break that you got in between as well. I could then at this point, which was around 10:30 to 11, I could see that my contractions were lasting around 80 to 90 seconds and I was getting a 50-second break in between. As I said, I don't really remember much, but the photos that we got are time stamped, so we can probably run through the story in accordance with the photos.
Yeah.
So at around 10:44, Ez was filling up the birth pool while also then running back into the lounge room to try and help me through contractions. He was trying to do like the hip squeezes, which I loved. That felt so relieving.
I was trying to set up the birth space with water in the pool, the affirmations all on the wall and the Bible verses. I tried to set up the vlog camera in a spot where we'd be able to film labour and delivery, all while running back to you and making sure I was there for you.
So that means you only had 50 seconds as well.
Correct.
In between to try and get things done.
But I wasn't giving birth, so it was a lot easier for me.
So then,
it's an easy job.
At around 11 p.m. is when my primary midwife got there, and I was apparently labouring in our hallway, which I don't really remember, but it was really intense at this point. I just wanted to get in the bath. I remember asking if the bath was ready.
A few times.
A few times.
Can't make the water come out of the tap any faster.
At around 11:10 p.m. is when I got into the bath. I remember getting in the birth tub and just absolutely loving it. It was so nice.
Yeah. You could see the relief that it provided you.
It was amazing, and I really felt as though the warm water was just about the only thing that helped me, because I had a birth comb and I really didn't like the birth comb. I know a lot of women say that they swear by combs because basically you dig it into your hand. I think like you squeeze it.
The pain from you clamping it into your palm is supposed to equalize in your brain the messages that are being sent to this pain and this pain.
Basically just redirects your concentration to a different spot on your body,
or equalizes it so that it's not
as intense
in the one spot.
I was squeezing it and I just kept saying that I couldn't feel it. I remember at one point further on in my labor, I was actually starting to like dig it into my ribs in the pool. I was just trying to distract myself in any possible way that I could, but I still couldn't even feel it when I was digging it into my ribs. So I just did not love the comb. I kept using it because I think I just liked having something to hold, but I didn't really like it. Like I would say on the scale of pain relief for an unmedicated labor, that was like last.
The TENS machine was better.
Yeah, for sure. I like the TENS machine. Up until it got to a point where I wasn't feeling the TENS machine anymore because it was really intense.
Where on the scale was waterboarding? You were lying there going through a contraction and just decided halfway through that you needed something to distract you from the pain, and so you just threw yourself sideways and dumped your whole head under the water. And I'm just like, hey, yoink, that's not happening.
Ezra grabbed me and picked me up and he was like, what are you doing? And I was like,
no, I wanted it.
My midwives are just looking at me like, what?
Yeah, your midwife ran in like, the flip was that? And I was like, it's all good.
That
It was so funny. It wasn't funny in the moment, but like 5 minutes later, I was just sitting there while you were going through it, and I was just laughing, thinking like, can't believe you just dunked her head under the water. But it also gave me a sense of what you were going through. Not that I couldn't already see, but it was a great depiction through your actions of like just where you were at in labor and what kind of thing you were going through and what you were experiencing with your body.
So then from that point onwards, I basically just labored the entire time in the water. I did not get any cervical checks throughout my labor, so I couldn't tell you how dilated I was at certain points. I just really trusted my body to do what it was meant to do, and it did. I really loved having such a hands-off experience. I really felt as though my midwives were only there when I really needed them.
They were there as support.
Yeah, instead of like medical personnel, I guess. They did keep checking baby's heart rate with the Doppler, and everything was all great. His heart rate was very consistent with what it had been previously, and there was
pregnancy,
and there was no issue at all there. So
he was a very healthy boy.
Super grateful for that. I'm not sure what time it was because there's not a photo of it, but I did actually vomit from the intensity of the contractions that I was experiencing. I remember thinking while I was throwing up into the sick bag, I was just like, are you serious? Like,
what more?
I was like, yeah.
And I have thrown at me right now.
I just felt like my body was going through the ringer. Like, I was like, are we kidding right now?
On top of everything, then you're vomiting as well.
Yeah, but we know now that that was probably during transition when my body started really
wanting to start pushing.
Yeah, and bearing baby down as well. So I would say that it was from that point on where I was throwing up that I started feeling my body push on its own. That was such a crazy and intense feeling. It was amazing because I couldn't fight it. My body, it's so hard to explain unless you've been through it, but it was just really bringing him down, and I felt him moving down, which was just such an incredible thing to feel. Like I really felt in tune with my body. It was around, I would say, midnight on the 27th that I really felt as though I was starting to lose control of myself and how well I was coping. And this is where my midwife stepped in, and she was just absolutely amazing the entire time. But at this point, she would really remind me, Piper, you are safe. It's okay. And I remember hearing that when I was going through the intensity, and I remember really feeling like that was such a grounding thing in that moment that I needed to hear, because I think I did start
feeling as though you were losing control.
Yeah.
And that brought you back down to earth and grounded you, and you realized like, okay, let's zone back in.
Yeah.
And let's head for the finish line.
Yeah. It was around this point as well where my midwife gave me a towel, because she said that biting down on something really helped her when she was laboring with her children. That is something that I found super super helpful was biting down on a tea towel while I was going through my contractions, because it allowed that high pitch to come back down into the base of my body, and I was able to groan through it because I was biting down instead of
having your mouth open and projecting all the energy up and out.
I was able to redirect it down.
Yes, which once you started biting on the tea towel, everything started really like
progressing super quick. At around 1:30 a.m. is when I really started pushing, I guess. So how we were is the birth tub is kind of like an oval shape. I was at one end with Ezra at my head, and my two midwives were down by my bottom end to watch and assess everything that was going on. So one of my midwives held up a mirror and a torch, and I could really start seeing what was going on down there, which I felt gave me a sense of purpose to get through it as well. I could really feel at this point the pressure in my pelvis. So then we were pushing, and throughout the pushes, which I only did when I was contracting, there was no coached pushing. It was just exactly what my body wanted to do and needed to do in that moment, which I feel really grateful for. In between my contractions, I would be bearing down so that he wouldn't go back up, I guess, and I didn't have to work as hard the next time to get him to where he was previously. I remember as I was bearing down in between the contractions, I would kind of forget to breathe, because you're like holding your breath, I guess, trying to keep him in that spot. And then Ezra would literally have to be like, babe, breathe, breathe. And I would take a breath, and things were all good, obviously, but it's just something funny to observe.
Around 2 o'clock, that's when he started to make his way out of the exit.
Yeah, and I could really see him, I guess, coming out with the mirror there. And it was so funny. I asked our midwives if they could see anything, and they were like, yeah, we think he's got red hair, which is just my favorite thing. I love that. So his head came out, and then he was sitting there till my next contraction. I just remember when his head came out, it was so relieving. I remember also feeling the ring of fire, and I was like, oh, this is what women talk about when they say the ring of fire. It does feel like that. Like, I can see why it's described as that, I guess.
Sorry, I'm just in awe looking at the photos.
So he was facing downwards, so like eyes and nose down to the bottom of the pool, because I was also kind of like on my back when I was pushing, which felt really good. They suggested that I use gravity and try to move onto my knees. I did try that, and I didn't like it at all, so I went back to my back. Being in the water made me feel buoyant and light, so it wasn't like I was lying on my back in bed.
I had my arms interlocked under his armpits and shoulders, so I was kind of, as much as she was buoyant in the water, you were holding side handles, so I was also kind of like holding you up to like take some weight off you, so you were almost completely floating, so you weren't really on your back, like you were completely floating and then like pushing up off the bottom of the pool with your feet, so it was like a weightless position,
and that felt so nice as well. Ezra really like lifting me up.
I was holding you up.
Anyway, so I was on my back and he was face down, and we were waiting for the next contraction for the rest of his body to come out. What happened next is actually like the coolest thing that either of us have ever experienced. We've talked about it so much since, and I just cannot believe how our bodies are designed. It's just incredible. So what happened is, obviously because he was face down, his shoulders are horizontal, but the exit is vertical, so he needed to, I guess, rotate to come out. And my midwife said that on the next contraction he will turn, but I didn't really know what she meant by that.
We now know that what she meant was
he will turn. My next contraction started, and I started to push, and literally felt and saw,
and watched.
We were both watching.
Yes.
Felt and saw him turn completely to the
turn 90
side.
degrees, and then watched his shoulders come out, and then watched the rest of his body
be born. That was such an amazing thing to experience. Like, I would never get over that feeling.
Yeah, it was unbelievable to watch as well.
Yeah, and I watched it too. Like, I could see really clearly what was happening, but also feeling it. Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. I can't even explain.
It was incredible.
And so he was born at 2:10 a.m. Oh my gosh,
you just reached down and pulled him up onto your chest.
Yeah, the most surreal
it's the most beautiful moment.
Yeah, but that was at 2:10 a.m. So from the start of my labor, which I count from the pop at 7:30 p.m, because I was not having any contractions before that, to the very end where he was born was 6 hours and 40 minutes exactly. And by the time I actually realized that I was in labor, was about 4 hours.
Yeah, because it was 9:40
yeah
to 2:10.
So it was about 4.5 hours that I actually count, I guess, of me being like, oh, this is
labor.
real. Yeah,
Which as a first time mom is unbelievable.
Very fast, very efficient. I was very grateful for how my body labored and how my body handled it.
We do think that a lot of it came down to the fact that you were 41 and 5. Your body had been doing a lot of work in the background for at least the last 4 to 5 weeks, because we'd had signs of early false labor for about that long.
Yeah.
So your body had been doing the work, and so the midwives said that there was every chance that you were potentially 5-6 centimeters dilated when you finally then went into labor, which helped the whole process seem so seamless and efficient.
It was just the most amazing experience. And I remember when I gave birth just thinking, and I actually said it out loud, I was like, I would do that 1,000,000 times. It was the most intense but amazing thing that I've ever done. It was so beautiful. I delivered my placenta about half an hour after baby came out, and my placenta was not calcified at all, which they often see in late term pregnancies. Came out with minimal bleeding.
No tearaways, nothing.
Yeah, it was
came
just
out completely whole.
Yeah.
No fragments left behind.
Which was also an answered prayer. We were both praying over the placenta delivery, because I know women where they have hemorrhaged or just had a really scary experience birthing the placenta. And so that was probably the only fear that I had to do with birth, was the delivery of the placenta. And just the way that it all happened was such an answered prayer. We really could not have had it happen any more beautifully or any better for us. It was amazing, and I'm so grateful that we had the home birth that we have always envisioned. And now that I've done it as well, I know I can do it again, and I know what to expect. I just feel so capable and honestly excited to do it again, Lord willing, one day. So it was amazing. I would really recommend physiological home birth to just about anyone. In the hours following after the birth, it was just the most beautiful slow morning.
It was just sacred, really.
Yeah.
And spending it together and with him, and just really soaking up what had just happened. We just enjoyed each other and his company, and
it was just amazing. When I got out of the pool, probably about 45 minutes after he was born, and about 15 minutes after the placenta was delivered, I came and lay on this couch, and the midwives checked me over and made sure that I was all good, made sure the baby was all good. They did his SATs and just checked some of his levels and my blood pressure and all of that. They also checked over me to see if I had any tearing, and they did find that I had 2 tears. So I had one up the top, which was a minor one, it wasn't that bad, and then I had a 2nd degree tear down the bottom as well. So they offered sutures, but they also said that it wasn't really necessary and that the tear would heal on its own. So I decided against getting stitched. I do think that tearing can a lot of the time just be part of giving birth, and I'm thankful that my body did it in a way where it's going to heal and is healing really well on its own. Anyway, so we have been just recovering really well. Things went so beautifully and so smoothly, and I could not have asked for a better experience. And I think that you could probably say the same as a husband.
It was great.
You ready to do it again?
Yeah.
Sometime in the future?
Yep.
With all of that said, I am going to run out of memory card video footage, so we do have to end the video here, but I hope that you enjoyed listening to our birth story. As I just cannot stop saying, it was the most beautiful experience that I've ever had in my whole life. I would do it again 1,000,000 times if it meant that I could have 1,000,000 of these. But yeah, I'm just so grateful for how it all happened, and I'm grateful that you are here listening to it and watching. Thank you so much for being here, whether it's your first time or you've been following along for a while. I'm super grateful, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!